Hi, so this is another Flux video. Not showing any workflows this time. I'm just doing a very quick survey of the many available Loras for Flux. There are so many and they've all appeared, and there's so many absolutely awful ones, and there's a few good ones, so hopefully I can point you to a few ones that are not too disappointing. So there's nearly 70 Loras to get through, so I'm going to gabble quite quickly, I think. So, artists. Flux is awful at artist styles, slightly better at more general styles. I haven't seen very many style for particular artists that are very good, and this is one of them that isn't very good. The SDXL Leyendecker is brilliant. You're probably best doing your first generation in SDXL and then going to Flux. But here it is. So it does quite elegant figures. So, but if you see on the left, this is what the setup that I tested with does without any Loras. So you can see that the Leyendecker has done nothing to the landscape at all, which is fair enough. It's done nothing to Venice either, but it has put gondolas in because there's people in gondolas. So Leyendecker, every image in the training will have had a person in it, so it doesn't do landscapes. But it does quite nice, elegant people, but they don't look like Leyendecker people, not even slightly. Another very good illustrator, Simon Stalenhag. He doesn't need to be worried. This Lora doesn't do anything like his work. It combined with another one we hit later on called Parchment, it does do quite a nice style, and so I would combine it with Parchment, which we'll come to later, and then you do get a bit of his style out of that and his quirky compositioning. So on with that. Giga, this is one of the ones. This is by Andreak, I think, who's a brilliant Lora maker. Quite the best Lora maker, actually. And Giga, yes. Well, it's not. He says it isn't Giga. It's just stuff that's Giga-esque that he's made into a Lora. But anyway, it's damn good and very powerful. And you can sort of judge how good Loras are by how much they change from the standard that you would have got otherwise. If they move everything around, we're doing it at 0.75 strength on all the Loras. It's all the same seed, everything's the same, only the Lora is changing, and I change a few of the words. So when we've got oil painting, I prompt oil painting and simple things like that. And I put the trigger word in, of course. Although very few Flux Loras seem to need a trigger at all. I tried several with the trigger and without the trigger, and it didn't care the slightest. Anyway, so this is a super Lora by a very good maker. And this is a whole group of styles. This is just one of them, but they're quite pleasant. This is Tom Lavola, a famous American illustrator. Nothing like him really, but still a nice style. We get two variations on the city scene. This is pretty close to one of them, so it's not making a great deal of difference to the city. Sid Mead, again, this is quite a good Lora. Doesn't resemble Sid Mead at all, but it's a nice Lora anyway. Quite powerful. You can see how it's moved things around. It's moved the city around. It's moved Venice around. And done quite a nice figure. Googly hands. A lot of Loras, Flux Loras, mess up the anatomy. Probably because they've been trained with images with bad hands made in SDXL or something like that. That's my theory anyway. And we're out of the artists, so there's not many artists because there's no good Loras for artists really. This is again Andreak, brilliant Lora, very strong. Look what it's done to Venice and the city. This is only at 0.75, and his Loras can be used at any strength, and if they move everything around, it's a good sign that you can have several of them in at 0.3 or 0.4, and they'll make a difference, a subtle difference. I very rarely use Loras at 0.75 or 1. Usually it's 0.55 or something like that, because I don't want the Lora style to overwhelm the image. Those some are so strong that they do. This is Eldritch Comics. Eldritch Adam does very nice Loras. One of my favourite Lora makers. This is Eldritch Comics. Again, it's moved everything around and made all his Loras tend to refine and improve generally. I think they're great. This is Eldritch Ink Art, with another one slightly more graphic-y. But go and look at his CivitAi page. All of the titles, you can search for them on CivitAi, and just be careful what you look at there, because it's not a very pleasant place. But this is a nice Lora. Again, he makes lovely Loras. Blue Future, this is Andrejak again. This is absolutely as good as a Lora gets. Deservedly has a huge number of downloads. See how it's moved the city around, it's reorganised Venice, and it's made beautiful compositions. Superb Lora, and can be used for all different strengths. Fantastic thing. Neon Cyberpunk, not much good on cities, but it's sort of alright. It has a sort of very orange and blue feel with lots of neon lights. Quite fun, stylised stuff. And it does play with other Loras, which many Flux Loras don't seem to do too well. Inkpunk has transferred, and it's transferred pretty well. One of the best transfers from SDXL. So it does great comic strip style. And again, it combines very well with other Loras. So onward, Modern Cartoon. This is quite a nice Lora. Reorganises the city quite a lot. It's quite a strong Lora. You see how it's moved the figure around. Much better at figures than landscapes and stuff though. But a nice Lora. This is Mobius. Not too bad. It's not Mobius, but I'm going to say this again and again. It's not Mobius. With a bit of careful prompting, you could probably get something quite Mobius-y out of it. But it's not Mobius. But it's a nice Lora, nice style, I think. This is a great Lora. This is Stencil art. Does very flat colours and very stylised. And again, extremely good at mixing with other Loras. If you want to make something a bit more illustrated, have this at a low level and it will become illustrated. Onwards, Healing Colour. No idea what that meant to mean, but it's a very nice Lora. A sort of digital painting Lora, really. But very nice figures, good architecture, a good Lora. Da Vinci, well, the SDXL was fantastic. This, meh. It's alright, I suppose. I deleted it actually after I did this. Eldritch again, Eldritch Adam, fantastic Lora, really great. Combines well with other graphic-y Loras. Again, can be used for any strength. Very strong. Look at how it's moved everything around. Okay, onwards. Hatching. I thought this was going to be rubbish, but it's very good. And it's I'm not giving it its full strength here. If I input an image that was more contrasty and more black and white, it would do an even better job. So it's doing this well on a very inappropriate input, because I'm doing all of these with a noised image to image, because Loras really express more in that way than they do straight text to image. Line Up Flux, again another comic strippy one, but a good one. Nice. You see how it's moved Venice around? Quite strong. Good architecture, very clean. This is a strange one. It does stipples, and the guy does quite a few strange ones. They're worth looking at. They're quite quirky. Again, they work best with a black and white start. But they've done quite interesting stuff. Let's move the city around. It made quite a nice city. I don't know what happened on the young lady. It doesn't do figures very well, but they're interesting. Good to put into the mix and to see what happens. This is Franklin Booth. I thought this was going to be rubbish, but it's very good. Again, it can be combined with other graphic-y ones to make it more crosshatchy and more like Franklin Booth. It's not like Franklin Booth for a start, but it's a good Lora nonetheless, and it will, combined with other Loras, do that sort of very hatched technique that he uses. But it needs a little bit of extra help from some other Loras usually. I'll mention a couple that do help it later on. Fractal geometry. This makes architecture very clean and crisp, and it tends to make facets and polygons over things. It doesn't do it a great deal here, but if you have a more graphic start, then it will do. So this is really out of its comfort zone, and it's still doing quite well, which for my money means that it's a good Laura. This is another fractal one, fractal 4. There's various fractal 3s, fractal 2. I like fractal 4. I think it's a good Laura. Fractal Laura is very good at low level for adding detail. You see how it's detailed the city up very nicely indeed. This is Tech World by Don M, who makes a lot of nice Lauras. Moved the figure around, moved Venice around, made a nice landscape, snowy landscape. Good, great Laura. This is Henry Flux Greebles. This is just a detailer really. It's fine, it's a detailer, and it tends to add quality as well. So very useful all purpose. This is Envy Sleek Sci-Fi. It's out of its comfort zone here because there's no sleek sci-fi, but it's good at spaceships and machinery and all that sort of stuff. A nice lorry. All the Envy lorries are pretty good. This is Epic Details. I'm not sure who makes this, but it's a fantastic Laura. Another detailer. Anything you put this into, look at the city going off into the distance there. Very fine bit of architecture. Nice colour schemes it does as well, nice colours. It does quite good figures as well. It's a great Laura. It's called Scrap Metal. It's quite good actually. It's a bit crude. I'm not sure the training images were too good. But it tried to turn Venice into a sort of rusty metal job. And you see the young lady has been welded together, which I hadn't asked for. I didn't quote for that. I didn't prompt for welded ladies, and it did it anyway. So quite a strong Laura, and you can see it's done the domes on the architecture quite nicely. This is another one that's surprisingly good. It's a one-trick pony. It's meant to be spaceships, but it does everything else quite well, and it adds a little bit of slickness and machine-like complexity to things. Outside of it, so it's a surprising Laura. I thought it was just going to be a one-trick pony. I don't really do Lauras that make everything made out of cheese or goo of some sort. I can't be bothered with them. I can't be bothered with ones that do film stars and people, or ones that do one sort of object. I have no interest in them whatsoever. This is Mecha Flux. Again, good strong Laura. Surprisingly good at figures, and a very strong Laura. You see how it's moved the city around and moved Venice. It's done good things to Venice and made a very nice balustrade. It's a little bit comic strippy. Mechabellum, another, has nice colour schemes, this one. Again, so many of them are surprisingly good at figures, mainly because Flux is good. It hasn't really moved very much, has it? Sci-fi environments, very strong Laura, this. You see, Venice has had a makeover. The canals have been filled in and buildings built on them, and the girl has been moved around. Not great at figures, but a good Laura. Very strong. Metro Coco, completely mad. It's made the woman out of tar for some reason. But it's a good Laura though. If you want fancy buildings, this is your Laura. Alien Planet, this is out of its comfort zone. It does alien landscape, so it's made quite a nice landscape above. There's one alien planet there in Venice, but it's quite a good all-purpose. I quite like it. Good for landscape. Eldritch Parchment. Now, this is a brilliant Laura and can be combined with anything. You can combine it with ink punk, with any graphic Laura, just any Laura about drawing. They all combine with it beautifully, and it makes a lovely, soft, drawn finish. I absolutely love this Laura. Future Urban Decay. I think it might be Andreic. I'm not sure. He makes a lot of Lauras. It's very good Laura anyway. Great figures. Venice has been moved around and the canal sweeps off into the distance, and a great city. So a very strong Laura and a good Laura. Doesn't do decay particularly, but there you go. Another Andreic Laura. This is a brilliant Laura. It makes everything out of linen and cloths, but at low level it gives everything such a fantastic texture. So I would never use it this strong. I'd be using it at 2.5, 3.5, where it gives everything a rather spooky feel. So using it at this level, it makes absolutely everything like they've been wrapped like a mummy. But a fantastic Laura. This is Flux EDA, I don't know what it is. It's a sort of general digital illustration Laura, as far as I can see. But it's quite nice, makes a nice city, nice colour schemes again. Big impact is comic strippy, really. I think it's Andrzejek again. Very good Laura. Look at that figure, fantastic. And it's done great things to the landscape as well. And everything is very beautiful. Dark landscapes, there's a lot of Andrzejek in here, I'm afraid. Go and look at his CivitAi page. All his Lauras are good. This is fantastic, great mood, quite different. It's given everything a quite different feel. Very, very nice. Dystopia, I think it's another Andrzejek one. I lose track. Anyway, good Laura, very nice. Look what it's done to the city. Very good at landscapes, good at everything really. Eldritch photography. I don't do any photographic things generally. I can't see the point in fake photographs really. But if you like them, this is a good one. And it fights the dreaded soft focus bokeh sort of thing. So it's very good at that. So it'll improve your photographic images. I'm sure it will. I won't know because I won't be using it for that. But it's a good Laura. Flux Ultimator. It's a digital painting, Laura. It's okay, it's not great. Andrzejek again, very nice, great colour schemes, great shapes, great mood, very lovely mood, great lighting, very good, fantastic. Not the Real World, I don't know who makes this one, but it's a very good Laura. Very, very good indeed. Beautiful. Look what it's done for the city, fantastic. It's superb at architecture. Absolutely fantastic at architecture and very good at figures as well. Andrzejek again, obviously in a very cheerful mood here. This will make any generation depressing, really. Don't try anything cheery because it won't happen. But a very good Laura, incredibly strong. It's done this from the most the input image is completely unlike this, and I've not prompted for misery and desolation, but there it is, absolutely thick on the ground. Another Andrzejek one, again, terribly strong, slightly Giga-ish like the other one he did. You can combine this with a Giga and everything has tentacles. Even the tentacles have tentacles if you put those two together. Classic paint, another Andrzejek one, an absolutely amazing Laura, fantastic. Does everything sort of like a digitalized classical painting. But it's beautiful compositions, beautiful finish. And again, it combines very well with other Lauras. Eldritch oil painting, a lovely Laura again from Eldritch Adam. Very nice, has a soft painted feel. It doesn't do the overblown drama that the Andrzejek ones do and the Rococo ones, but it's very tasteful. Eldritch digital, same thing again, but more digital painting-y. Very beautiful. It's made Venice Derelict, and Derelict was in the prompt. It's one of the few Lauras that picked up on that and made Venice Derelict. Another great Laura, Impressionism. It's very hard to do a painting style. This needs to have guidance of around 1.4, 1.3, 1.5, or it won't do anything very impressionist-y. And always the problem is that it'll render figures, cars, differently to the rest. As you see, the architecture of mountains are rendered differently to the landscape in the foreground. The young lady I did at a lower guidance, so she has become a little bit more, but even so her hair isn't impressionistic. What you can do is do the figure at a lower guidance and then strip that into the image afterwards, blend it in afterwards. That works pretty well. Eldritch oil sketch. Eldritch this is the best painting Laura, the best oil painting Laura, without any doubt. Very nice. I'm using the young lady there as the title page, as you may have noticed. Fantastic. Eldritch pastels, it does. Oh, an extra one there. Eldritch pastels, as you see, it does pastels. Quite nice soft feel. Very useful. This was a real surprise. Again, it has to be done at 1.7, 1.5 guidance, and it'll do absolutely beautiful watercolour washes. And look how it's done both beautifully. Very few of these, both of the images are fantastic, but this is a winner all the way around. This isn't. It's quite useful. I use it. It's much better at crisp, clean, modern architecture. It's not very keen on the Baroque, and certainly not very keen on figures at all. But it does, so clean architectural stuff is what it's good for. This one's a surprise. It's rather good. No good at landscapes, but presumably none of the inputs were landscapes. So it does very nice figures, and I think the Venice feel of the Venice is really, but quite a strong Laura considering. Not like Sergeant though, not even vague. I don't know what this one. It was in Chinese, so if you can find it, it came up when I searched for watercolour. It might have got deleted. I don't know. It's a very interesting Laura anyway, and it took the derelict and ran with it, and it's very strong. You might not be able to find it. I have a feeling it might have been deleted, but if you look, you can probably find it somewhere. Impressionist strokes is quite good. It does Venice quite well, but it makes a horrible mess of landscapes. Art Deco, Ars Machina, again rather nice Laura, rather restrained for an Art Deco Laura. As you see, it's made Venice very, very cool, calm, and collected. Very elegant. Art Deco Vintage Future, again a very nice Laura, good at figures, very strong, very nice indeed. A slightly different take on Art Deco, but more, more at the Deco end. A lot of them are Art Nouveau rather than Deco, and this is definitely at the Deco end. Diesel Core by Andreac, and a very strong Laura. This will, again, a cheery little Laura. There's no happy people ever in his scenes. This is quite interesting, and this is not in its comfort zone at all. It wants to be combined with a sort of stylised cartoony, and then it'll break everything up into polygons and make everything slightly faceted. You can sort of see it's done into the balustrade there, but it's quite a nice Laura. I wouldn't use it by itself, but to mix in, it's quite interesting. Envy Dramatic Light, good all-round Laura. It's noticed the derelict as well, and it's remade Venice, as you see. It's quite a strong Laura, quite useful. Envy Art Deco, a very good all-round Laura, does figures, makes everything very swish. Rococo Steampunk, this is a mad one. What can I say? That young lady is something else. She's ready for the carnival, isn't she? Yeah, very useful. I wouldn't use it by itself, but it has some quality issues. This is a good Laura. It actually does medieval. But I haven't used it a great deal, and almost the first time in this test. I'm impressed. I thought it was really good. Vintage CE, again a nice Laura, does good figures, good architecture, good Laura. Others do it better, but it's a good Laura. There's a weird one. It does, again, for the people who want something very stylised, it's great. Interesting colour scheme and tonal schemes always. And it does mix in quite well. You can mix it with stencil art and with parchment and other ones, and you can mix it with some of the more digital painting Lauras, and it'll take the smoothed off edge from it. Ethereal Gaze, Andreac again, a very good all-purpose Laura, detailer. It just adds quality and class to anything really. Look at that water, fantastic. And there we are. That's through all the Lauras. I hope that's useful. To find the Lauras, just search for the names. I've tried to get them all right. And you'll find them on CivitAi. Okay, a few mixes here just to show. There's 3 in there, but each one is the same prompt and settings really, just changing the Lauras. So the first one is Rococo and Medieval, which produces quite a nice architectural style. Leans a little bit to the photographic, I suppose, for me, especially in the distance. And then there's one with Eldritch Oil Sketch, which I think is great. And I've put the Impressionism as well, because they seem to play off each other, and not the real world, to give it a slightly, which is, it just adds a little magic to it. Then the next one is Shadowy Linens and Rococo with the oil sketch again. The oil sketch is a really nice Laura and mixes in well. So, and these are slightly different feel. I've tried to, some of them like the ones before, I only want to sort of nudge it in a direction. You have to think of it a bit like cooking. The Lauras are your spices. So if you put 3 tablespoonfuls of pepper in, people aren't going to be too happy. So the thing is to spice up your image with your Lauras and don't let them dominate too much. So this is the first one is Giga, to give it a bit of uncomfortableness really, and Shadowy Linens do that as well. And everything in this one is at low levels, is at 0.2. But you see, it's still if you use it at lower levels, it merges into one style. The next one, I've done the Giga quite strong, and it fights with Dark Future, which does almost the same thing. So there the Loras are really up front, which is fine if you want that. And Dark Future gives it a sort of, and they're all quite bleak, those ones. He's not a happy man. The next one is Luminous Shadows and and the Fractal is doing, you see all the clutter with all the bottles and bits and pieces on the workshops. That's the RAL Fractal, that's the Fractal doing its job. And Neon Cyberpunk is doing the colours, see the colours in the floorboards, and the nice colouring generally is done by the Neon Cyberpunk. Again, they're all in at quite low levels, 30-ish. You don't want your Loras to add up to more than 1.3, 1.5 really in total. So you don't want two 70% ones. Something a bit more subtle. So the first one is a sort of slightly gloomy version, which is using Eldritch Watercolour, which is a lovely Lora, and then Desolation and Shadowy Linens are very low level. So we still get the watercolour, but the Shadowy Linen, so you see she's got this gloomy look to her. She's giving me a dirty look. So the only change was in the next one is to drop in Q3 cartoon, and suddenly she's not pleased to see me, but she's not going to stab me. And the whole lot, you see the flowers have appeared, but it hasn't gone Q3D cartoon, because Q3D cartoon is in at 20% only. The next one is adding Oil Sketch and Giga to exactly the same setup. All I did was change the Loras, and you see you've got very different effects. I rather like that. I think it's, but none of them are dominating. So the Giga is making the strange headdress, and the Shadowy Linens is adding the sort of sweep of the hair and the slightly worrying atmosphere. The Oil Sketch is hardly showing, but if I didn't have it in there, it would go very 3D rendered, made out of icing sugar, which is a look I really don't like, and you get a lot with Flux. It's too smooth. Same thing again, really, but adding different Loras. So I've added woodblock to this first two, which immediately makes it into a design, and so the design aspect of it and the structure has got more prominent. And the last, which is the first two really, and just changing a big impression for Dark Future. The next one is adding Shadowy Linens, and I've rode back a little on the watercolour and added the parchment. Parchment always adds a nice feel, and as you see, it's got rather a romantic feel to it. It has a few glitches. I would be editing one of the hands, and there's a strange knee. We could do without there, really. But still, I rather like that one. It's got a nice feel. Here we go again. Blue Future, which is very strong. Dark Future and Mecro Cocoa, and this produces, I feel, a rather too smooth style, but it's very impressive. It's like a 3D render, isn't it? Really, but and it has a nice lighting, nice mood. The next one is adding it was exactly the same. All I did was add the ink punk and take out the Blue Future. So it's gone a little bit more illustrated. If you see the face and the hands, and everything is a little bit more illustrated. And then I go one stage further with the illustration. I add parchment art to it, and you notice that it's gone much more, not exactly drawn, but it's a little less photographic and less 3D. But the detail is still remaining, and the Mecro Cocoa is supplying the detail in each one. Last one, this is, they're all with the same setting, and it's quite difficult to do a painted style in Flux. It's quite reluctant to do it. It will do the faces completely differently from the rest. And although you want the faces to be a little bit more finished than the surroundings, you don't want a sort of photographic face jammed in there, and Flux is very keen on doing that. So this works quite well. So Eldritch Oil Sketch is in very strongly, ultra impression a little less, and shadowy linens I've found adds roughness to the paint. At low level, it just starts to make it look even more like brushstrokes. There's a few errant little flowers in one of them, but that's the nearest I've got to an oil sketch, which I quite like, and I shall be using that a bit. And again, when you're using Loras, experiment with the settings, turn them on and turn them off to see if they're actually doing anything. Sometimes you turn a Lora off and absolutely nothing hardly happens, in which case it's no point in having it there. So that's it, that's my survey, and I hope that's useful. As I said, you can look up from the names and search for the various Loras in CivitAi. So I hope that was useful and interesting. Thank you for watching.